Welcome to the #1 spot health and wellness practitioners go to double their current income and turn their 10-hour work day into a 10-hour work week. Join us as we dive into the tips, tools, and tech you need to create a life and practice on your own terms. More freedom, flexibility, fulfillment, and of course, funds. It's time to build your online practice. And I'm your host, Michelle Rogers, also known as the WELLthy Woman. Be sure to subscribe for your weekly dose of education, inspiration, and action. Let's get started. Over the years, I have met a lot of practitioners who are self-proclaimed introverts. We love working one-on-one with clients, but the thought of getting in front of the masses can leave us sweating and speechless. Can anyone relate? I know I can, because that was me. And honestly, it kind of still is. But it is one of the biggest roadblocks that a lot of practitioners run into, especially when entering the online space. It's this fear of being seen. And you might not recognize it as that, like, oh yes, I have a fear of being seen. But it's the essence of being really vulnerable, right? Like it's like taking off a layer and like exposing yourself, right? And so that leaves us open to judgment, to ridicule, to criticism, to trolls, or even being canceled. We've seen a lot of that over the last couple years, right? And so the thing is that if we end up hiding, if we play small, if we silence our voices, if we hide behind our computers and our glasses and our stethoscopes, nobody wins, right? You don't get to create the practice and lifestyle you've always wanted, and your clients don't get the help that they have been desperately seeking. And guess what? No matter what you do or don't do, someone isn't going to like it. Like, you literally cannot please everyone. And why would you want to, right? That sounds completely exhausting. And I think a lot of us do that subconsciously. We have this people-pleasing tendency. We kind of touched upon that as caregivers, right? Like, we all have a little bit of that people-pleasing tendency, but it's exhausting. And, you know, not to get too morbid on you, but I don't think that we'll be lying on our deathbed saying, dang, I really wish I tried harder to please so-and-so. Right? Like, no, it's not going to happen. You probably will be lying there saying, you know, I wish I stayed true to myself and lived my life to the fullest. Right? So as a practitioner in the online space, it is your responsibility to be the beacon of light in a vast ocean. Right? You need to use your voice, share your philosophies, educate people on your methodologies, and most importantly, share the essence of who you are. Right? And this means showing up authentically. We kind of touched upon this both with Kay and with Daphne. Right? It means you drop the facade of what you think you should be doing and focus on what feels truly aligned for you. Right? And in doing this, you're going to effortlessly attract patients and clients who value your work, your time, your energy, your expertise, right? If any of you follow me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you know that I don't fit into the typical box of a health and wellness practitioner. I'm not like dressed up in suits or white coats or like being ultra professional, because that's not who I am. You know, I drop F-bombs and like I say and I don't fit into that box. And when I decided to really step into that and just kind of take off the pressure of having to look a certain way or act a certain way, that's when I started attracting the most amazing people into my life, both one-on-one clients and also practitioners for my mentorship. Like, it was a complete game changer. And just the stress and the pressure that it relieved from me was life changing. Okay. So people who will gladly invest in what you have to offer are the people that you're going to attract because they can actually feel your true self shining through. Right? They feel, when I say true self, there's an aspect of honesty and integrity and transparency, right? And so the main thing that your potential client or patient is looking for in a practitioner, it's not the letters after your name. It's not the school that you went to. It's not the people you're associated with. It's not the associations that you belong to, right? Their deepest desire is to be seen, heard, and understood, right? So think about all the stories that you've heard about from your patients and your clients being dismissed by the conventional world of medicine, right? How many people do you know who've been given the runaround, gaslighted, or even been ignored or laughed at for seeking help for their symptoms? Right? And like Dr. Weatherby and I were talking about yesterday, many of these people are getting normal lab results, so their doctors don't have any incentive to investigate further, right? Some people are even told that their symptoms are in their head, right? And unfortunately, this is not uncommon, which is really crazy in my opinion. So after 4 years exclusively in the online space, I can tell you that the only way I've found to help these people, these potential clients, these people who are desperately seeking your help, to help them feel seen, heard, and understood is by simply being yourself and owning your truth. And I know we talked about this with Daphne also, but it sounds really simple, right? It sounds super, super simple, too simple. But when your authenticity shines, people feel safe, right? And when people feel safe, they can more easily build trust. Do you guys remember what I said about trust yesterday? Pop it in the chat box if you remember. If you remember, hint, hint, it had to do with money. Anybody? Any takers? All right, I'll remind you. Money is simply an energetic exchange of trust, right? So I'm curious. I want to know, what are you most afraid of when it comes to putting yourself out there in the online space? Also, I know I'm getting super personal with you guys, but the thing is, we're all human. We're all having this experience together. And as we saw yesterday, you are not alone by any means. Your colleagues in this container with you right now are having very, very similar experiences, right? So there's no right or wrong. There's no better or worse. It's just whatever experience we're having right now. And that being said, it's likely to change and evolve over time. So what is it? What are you most afraid of when it comes to putting yourself out there in the online space? Tell me in the chat box if you dare. I'll take a minute. Wait. And thank you, Priscilla. So true. Thanks for this reminder. Alina says, yes, beautifully said. Yes. Tom says, I'm 70 years old and no patience. Okay. Shimei says something wrong, saying something wrong. Yeah. Tiffany says, I have some health issues with myself and struggle with, am I enough to help others right now in this season of my life? Oof, I see this one a lot, Tiffany. Thank you for sharing that. Trisha says, afraid of not being as successful as I am in the brick and mortar setting. Yeah. Yashika says, as a professional, being held to a higher standard versus an influencer that gives advice. Yeah. Dr. Katie, someone like misconstruing your post as medical advice. Totally. Yeah. Construing them. Yeah. That too. Me too. Yes. Chelsea, I have some leverage fatigue and must succeed. See that success to affirm I'm being and doing in a way that is aligned and will feed me and do right by people. Oof. Sandy says, not knowing enough, especially if case gets complicated. Oh, you guys. I hear you. Like, I have been there myself. You know, I've trained over 70 practitioners at this point in bringing their practice online. And these are super, super common. Like, you're not alone. And I really appreciate the vulnerability in you sharing these things. Yeah. And we also have to remember that like these clients and patients are seeking our help, desperately seeking our help. And it's so easy for us to get in our own way and like shut ourselves down. Right. And like I said earlier, like no one wins, right? No one wins when we get in our own way. Okay. The fact is, it's like you only need to be a few steps ahead of your client or patient to help them, right? Whether or not we're dealing with like our own ego, like around age, or I'm not healthy enough, or like I don't know enough, right? Like always missing seeing clients in person, human touch. Yeah. Yeah. You can get human touch elsewhere too. Yeah. Or you can have special weekends where you visit certain towns and see people in person. The thing is, you get to choose, you get to decide, you get to create whatever it is you want to create. Yeah. So, my invitation to you is to just take the first step, take messy action. These people need you, right? Too many of us get caught up in perfectionism, which leads to procrastination, right? Where were you 6 months ago? Where were you 1 year ago? Were you wanting to start a virtual practice back then? You could already have one now. And it's like, what's going to happen in the next 6 months? What's going to happen? Like, where do you want to be in the next year? Like, do you still want to be in this same space, right? Or do you want to be in this next level, this next phase, or this next season of your life and your practice, right? As we've talked about time and time again, like time is our most valuable asset. Once it's gone, you cannot get it back, right? So I know these things all too well, the perfectionism leading to procrastination, because when I'm at my own growth edge, whether it be in my business, personal, or whatever, I feel that same thing too. It's like, I want everything to be perfectly in place before I take that next step. But the thing is, my definition of perfect versus your definition of perfect may be totally different, and they likely are, right? So that essentially means that perfection literally doesn't exist, at least in a generalized way, right? So stepping outside of your comfort zone is inherently uncomfortable, right? That makes sense, right? You're literally stepping outside of comfort, right? It's uncomfortable, and that's okay. There's actually this stage that I talk about with my practitioners inside the mentorship that I call the goo stage. And I picture it like this jelly wall that we have to move through. It's like this slow and awkward kind of maneuvering, right? And it doesn't feel good. It's not comfortable. It's like, but you have this like kind of blurry vision of what's on the other side. And so you kind of keep going. But, once you're on the other side, it's like a whole new world, right? Like the Aladdin song. I was going to play it for you guys, but I don't want to. But it's like basically the metamorphosis stage that a caterpillar goes through to become a butterfly, right? It's like the caterpillar needs to completely dismantle everything it ever was, and then like trust that there's something great on the other side, right? So one of my favorite books, which I highly recommend for you and for your clients and your patients, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is like, it's so good. But one of the quotes he has in there is, your current habits are perfectly designed to deliver your current results. Your current habits are perfectly designed to deliver your current results. Right. And so that means that what got you here, where you are today, is not going to get you there, right? Where you envision, where you want to be. Okay. If you want something to change, you need to change something, right? These are golden nuggets here. So the last question I want to ask you right now is, what is one step you're going to take after these past couple days to start building the online practice and lifestyle you've always wanted? What will it take to get you to step outside of your comfort zone? What small step can you take towards a life with more flexibility, more freedom, more time, more energy, and more money? Just one step. Pop it in the chat box. Where are you going to focus your time and energy? Yeah, you guys love Atomic Habits. That's good. Samo says, yes, I love it. Take messy action and avoid perfectionism leading to procrastination. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Tom said, I just sold my chiropractic office after 40 years and want to implement a health practice online. Heck yeah, you can. I have mentored chiropractors. You can do it. Shimay's going to reactivate her newsletter. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, audiobook version is good too. What else? Anyone going to tackle social media? Anybody going to make a video? Anybody going to tackle their website? Anybody going to change over their client management system? Anybody going to dive into some new functional labs? Anything else? Consistency with showing up in every way. Social media, yeah. Change branding and website. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Good stuff. Functional labs. Amazing. Mindset of success. Get in the zone and envision this perfect practice hybrid. Build out the brand, then tackle website and infrastructure. Big one, commit to consistent content development. Yes, Chelsea. Katie says, I would like to update my website and finish Dr. Weatherby's course. Do you have a favorite company for making websites? Katie, pop that in the Q&A so I can remember to come back to it, please. Gina says, new offerings that value and sustain what I do and deliver. Heck yeah. Hey, Gina. Amazing. So good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And just a reminder after yesterday too, right? Like we need more heart-centered practitioners making more money so that more people can benefit from our gifts. Do you remember all of the people sharing all of the amazing things they were going to do when they had more time, more energy, more money? Like the ripple effects. Amazing, amazing, right? It's simple. It can be that simple. Yeah. The online practice you want is possible. I promise you. But otherwise, we will dive into Q&A. So if you have Q&A for me, anything you want to know, again, I'm an open book, so feel free to ask away. Chris said, I have a problem with coming up with charges and plan for patients. Great question. This is something I dive super deep into with my mentorship, but I also do go over it for the 5-day workshop as well. The biggest thing to keep in mind is one, you want to be for sure covering any overhead costs. So if you're including labs or not, also if there's a certain set of time that you know you're going to be supporting your clients, like certain amount of support calls or whatever, just make sure you're covering all of your overhead costs. And then you just want to like really sit with how it feels. Like what does the energetic exchange feel like? Does it feel sticky? Does it feel one-sided? Does it feel like you're going to be able to provide the amount and the quality of care that you want? So yeah, that's kind of where that's kind of my like overall guidelines on how to do that. As far as like a plan, are you talking about a payment plan? If so, I'll just kind of dive into that. So usually what I do is like I have one fee for paid in full, and then I have a different fee for a payment plan. And so Bruno's here, you guys can see. He joined us for the last session. So payment plan, I usually charge a little bit more, right? Because we're not a bank, like we're a business and a practice. And so it's a service. It's a courtesy to offer a payment plan. So usually industry standard is anywhere from like 5 to 15 or even 20% increase. I'd probably stick between the 5 and the 15% increase for a payment plan. But yeah, that's kind of how I would do that. Does it take too much time to manage a free private Facebook group? It depends on, well, one, that's sort of subjective, right? Does it take up too much time? Too much time for you might be different from too much time for me. I believe that we are the masters of our time. And so if you create time blocks to nurture that group, go live, post, again, you can repurpose content. But with a private Facebook group, you definitely want to be providing them bonuses and extra things that you're not just putting on your free social media stuff, right? And so sometimes it's important to go live, answer Q&As and things like that. But it depends on what your priorities are. So I hope that helps. Yoshika says, tips on creating patient experience. That is a very broad question. In what aspect? Do you mean like onboarding or like what? Yes, onboarding. Like I mentioned earlier, I love to under promise, over deliver. I also offer really high ticket offers, like to work one-on-one with me. At this point, it's really only word of mouth. Like I don't do sales calls anymore. But what I do is I send a welcome box with all of the lab test kits that have some extra bonus goodies in there. I also like to send just like a little gift box that I usually get from Fox Blossom is one company that's coming to mind. They have gift boxes that are really like sleek and nice looking. And also really just making myself accessible to my clients. I usually set aside 1 day a week. I'll have like a little section where it's like, I remind myself on my calendar to just like check in with everybody. So again, going back to like, how can you make your clients feel really seen, heard, and understood? What kind of care are they needing? And, you know, the care that I'm providing and the things that I provide for my clientele might be different from what your clientele want, need, or desire. And that's why the market research piece is really, really, really important. It's like, what do they value, right? Like the things that my one-on-one clients value might not be the same things that your one-on-one clients value. So I guess to answer your question, I would go back and like really interview these people. Like what would make you feel really special? What would make you feel really cared for? What would make you or incentivize you to get the best results? You know, have these conversations with the people that you feel would be a really great match to work with. Nicole says, I'm gonna take a sip of water, sorry. Nicole says, do you offer payment plan as an ND? So do you mean licensed or unlicensed, Nicole? Because I dropped my license years ago. So I operate as a health consultant. And prior to that, you know, I was in a cash-based brick and mortar for a couple years. So I got out of the insurance paradigm. Basically, you can't do programs packages, to my knowledge, with insurance when you're credentialed with insurance companies or on their panels. When you're in the program package, you can do payment plans. Like if you're running a cash-based practice, you can absolutely do a payment plan. And I did originally, I was doing in-house payment plans. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, you can charge 5 to 15% above the base cost. The way that you can frame that actually is you can have like the price, and then there's like a discount or a better rate to pay in full, right? Because there is more incentive. It's better. It's nice to have an extra cash injection as a business, as a practice, to get a paid in full over a payment plan. But then again, having a payment plan can also provide some cash consistency, which is really nice as well. So really depends on how you want to set up your practice. But yeah, let me know if that answers your question. Jessica says, can you speak to why you decided to pursue the FDNP route over other programs such as IIN, hoping to fully transition to virtual over the next year and thinking to give up my license? Would love your thoughts. Yeah, thanks for the question, Jessica. Honestly, when I decided to do FDN, I didn't even know that it was recommended, like Lisa was talking about yesterday, to have like a health coaching at the time. Must have been like 3 or 4 years ago. But I didn't even know, like the thing is like, no one was doing what I wanted to do at the time, or I couldn't find people who were doing what I wanted to do at the time. And so I thought that I needed it to practice in the online space. And like when I contacted Paul Reed from FDN, you know, he was like, well, you're completely overqualified. He's like, how about how about you just how about you just pay the fee and I'll give you the certificate and gain access to all of the things, but I didn't have to get tested or like go through any of their assessment process or anything. Just with my background in naturopathic medicine, acupuncture, IFM, like I was overqualified. I did go through their material. Some of their material was awesome. I don't use any of the labs that they recommend, but some of the more like coaching material was cool. It was nice and interesting to review some of the material since it had been a while since I had been in school and things like that. But yeah, I don't know if that helps, but honestly, I didn't even look into IIN or like any other programs at the time. It was like someone mentioned FDN to me, and I was like, okay, this is what I guess I need to do. I told you, like, my process was so sloppy, like when I was doing it. And so now it's like I guide practitioners through a very different way of doing things than what I did. Nicole, licensed. Yeah. So if you're licensed, again, I think it's like if you're credentialed with insurance companies, you'll have to check with them. I don't think that that's possible. But if you're doing cash-based practice and you're licensed, I don't see any reason why you couldn't do a payment plan. Priscilla said, you mentioned the letters after your name does not matter. If you could do it again, would you do the ND program or any doctorate program? And do you think indirectly it makes a difference when clients choose to go with you? Such a great question. So I talked about yesterday about the debt and just how debt was a gift to me because it did allow me to gain the education that I got and the experience and all of that. And so that's a really, really tough question. I went through this this period of time where I really resented going through Bastyr, going through getting my ND, getting my master's in acupuncture. Because I was like, damn, like I can't even use these things anymore. I'm not going to be using these things anymore, let alone like the pressure and the stress from like family being like, wait, you're not going to be a doctor anymore. And like the whole thing around that, right? And it's like, hey, I'm still like the same person. I still have like the same knowledge and all this stuff. But anywho, totally other story. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, honestly, like at this point, like where I'm at, would I do it any other way? I probably would have done the process differently, but I'm also really, really, really grateful for the knowledge and experience that I gained in ND school. I do know that I have a much better skill set than like, when I was going through IFM, Institute for Functional Medicine, it was like really clear that, a lot of the MDs and other practitioners that were attending had no clue how to utilize supplements or herbs or anything like that. And so I feel really thankful that I had that education and that background because I do feel like it set me apart. I also do feel like it helped for me to create my protocols that I've created now that I use and I share inside of my mentorship because I have had more exposure to herbs and supplements and how they work and how they interact and which ones work best and which brands to trust and all of that, which is, essentially all knowledge that I got when I was in ND school. So, but as far as like, does it make a difference in clients choosing me? I would say no. Honestly, I can't think of one client that was like asking about my degree or where I went to school, or they didn't even know what naturopathic medicine was or any of that. Like they literally didn't care what the letters after my name were. So that was a long-winded question. So yeah. Dr. Katie, do you have a preferred lawyer? I'm a licensed ND in cash base. Katie, were you able to tune into Lisa's talk yesterday? She's great. She's actually who I started with when I first went into the online space. I have worked with one other lawyer just to get like a second set of eyeballs on my things, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend him. He's based in New York. And he's extremely conservative. I much prefer Lisa's approach and her energy. And so, yeah. Kara says, if we're career changing into the health and wellness space from a non-healthcare related field, what would your recommendations be for training? Ooh, good question. I guess the first question that I would have for you is like, what do you want to create? Like how do you want to work with people? Do you know what your special sauce is, or like what things or modalities you feel really, really drawn to? Right. Like I felt really, really drawn to functional labs. And so I dove really deep into that. And that's been my specialty for the past 10 years. But I've also had people, who don't do any labs at all. Like labs are definitely not necessary to have a successful online practice. As I mentioned earlier too, or yesterday, I think it was, it's like there's so many health gurus and people in the online space giving shitty advice to thousands of people and charging thousands of dollars, right? And I'm not saying to do that. Like, please don't do that. I'm all about integrity and honesty and quality, right? But like, it's really important to remember, I guess, that you do have something to offer. And so I would say to like just reflect, like what do you really want to create and what direction feels really good for you? Do you want to go more nutrition? Do you want to go more health coaching? And kind of take it from there. And I think that might help to narrow things down a little bit. Like what excites you? What lights you up? I know that's not like a super concrete answer, but let me know. Let me know if that helps. Lena, hi, Lena. Lena's the graduate from my program. How do you use Heads Up Health with your particular clients? So very similar to what TJ was showing us. So I have them integrate. Usually it's Aura Ring that's my preference. And pretty much most of my clientele at the time had Aura Rings. I'm not full transparency, I'm not currently using Heads Up because Lena, as you probably know, I only have 3 one-on-one clients right now. Actually, that's not true. I am using Heads Up. I was just like, oh yeah, wait, no, I am using Heads Up. But yeah, basically just monitoring the biomarkers or the biometrics from Aura Ring. Those are basically how I'm using it. So I'm keeping it super simple myself, and then just like keeping track of those things over time. But there's so much like you can do with Heads Up. Katie says, what company do you use to order labs for clients? I use Avexia, which was also yesterday. Definitely want to catch yesterday's replays. Avexia is where I order all of my labs, except for the DNA company is not with Avexia. MRT is not with Avexia. I think those are the only 2, although I think MRT was considering hooking up with Avexia too, but every other lab I order through Avexia. Endoscope ranges so greatly across states. I've looked into Ulta and Direct, but specialty tests have been difficult. Yeah, check out Avexia Diagnostics. Sandy says, what about doing online along with face-to-face together? Would you recommend starting with a particular one first? Great question. A lot of my practitioners who go through my mentorship, they want to be in the online space, but a lot of them have brick and mortar. So there's usually like a hybrid period of time. Some people think like, oh, I definitely want to go hybrid. Like that's what I want to do. And then once they get a taste of the online space, they're like, actually, I want to go fully online. So hybrid option is absolutely 100% possible. Again, like Lisa was talking about yesterday, if you guys didn't catch Lisa Fraley's talk yesterday, definitely watch that replay. She goes into depth about this. But you want to make sure, one, if you're wanting your hybrid, like your in-person practice to be licensed and your virtual practice not to be licensed, you want to make sure those are 2 separate businesses and that they are very separate, like different business names, different bank accounts, different accounts for client management software. All of that stuff needs to be very clear and very separate. And if you are just starting out, you don't have online or like a brick and mortar or like an in-person. I would go in the online space. That's why I'm hosting the summit. I think like this is the way to go. Like we're early adopters here. There's so much opportunity in the online space. You guys, well, some of you may know, like I live in Mexico now. I've been here for over a year. Like I still can see clients in the US, Canada, or whatever, ship them kits, no problem. Like mobile phlebotomy is a godsend. Like like online has increased my quality of life beyond words. I wouldn't be hosting this or sharing these resources with you guys otherwise. So hope that's helpful. Chris, have you used SpectraCell for nutrient testing? Not in many, 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 many years. Yeah. SpectraCell, I would say I haven't used SpectraCell in like maybe like 6 or 7 years, honestly. I've heard it could be super helpful. I personally, for some reason, I don't know, I just like never really got on the bandwagon. But and you guys will know this too. Like if we hang out more, talk more, I'm not like a stickler. I'm not like you have to use the test that I'm using, or you're useless, or it's useless, or anything like that. If you have something that works for you, like by all means, like use that to help the clients that are needing your help, right? It's not, I don't have some ego trip over here being like, no, you have to use this lab, or like, da, da, da. No. If it's working for you, keep working it. Tara says, it does. I'm in a health and wellness coaching program now. Awesome. That will allow me to sit for the board exam at the end. Awesome. But now I'm wondering if I want to grow beyond that with everything we've been talking about the last few days. Gears are turning. Amazing, Tara. Yeah. I mean, the cool thing is that there's a lot of opportunity for you that, you could team up with someone who's doing labs, like a practitioner. I'm sure there's a lot of practitioners right here in this room who are like wanting to work with a health coach that understands what they're doing, what their vision is, right? Like there's so much that you can provide as a service. And, yeah, like I would say you could collaborate with someone. I mean, there are health coaches out there with, a lot of experience who have dove into labs and who are going over labs themselves. The health coaching industry is a wide range. I guess you could say that really about anybody in the health and wellness industry, any industry in general, right? It's like you have like not so great people, or not so talented, or not so skilled people, or practitioners, or whatever. And then you have these like super skilled people who are really great at what they're doing it with integrity, and doing a really, really, really good job. And so I think I've seen that to be true also with health coaches. And so it's like you can decide like where you really want to dive in and where you want to put your focus. But if you're just starting out, it might be really educational. It might be really awesome to join someone who's already established and who actually needs someone to come in to give nutrition, lifestyle recommendations, habit change, behavior change, support. So yeah, I mean, I think so. That would be my opinion. Hopefully that helps. Chris says, I find people get a little nutty when they hear the price of labs, especially if not covered under insurance. For sure. That is the key reason why I include it in my programs, right? It's just included in the cost. There's no extra fees or anything else. Yes, I have a high ticket program, but at that point, it's like everything's paid for. And I have found that people actually prefer that because then they don't feel like they're being nickeled and dimed. And like, oh, let's run this lab test now. Like, it's going to be an extra $300. Let's run this lab test now. It's going to be $500. And there's like, what? Like, when is this going to end? And so instead, what I ended up doing was just like my program is all inclusive. So they don't even see the price of the labs. That's how I got around that. Jessica says, best thing about living in Mexico. Thanks for asking. Well, best thing. Wow, there's so many. The food, the ocean is 30 seconds from my front door. I have jungle in my backyard. The weather's amazing. What else? It's incredible. I've been actually exploring a lot of the country. I've been to like San Luis Potosi. We just got back from Mexico City. I was there for like 9 or 10 days. I still want to go explore Chiapas and Oaxaca. But yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And I don't feel like a walking biohazard anywhere. Shimei says, do you offer detox protocols in your practice, or do you have any recommendations for detox protocols? I have a lot of opinions about detox protocols, Shimei. So I definitely don't recommend people doing any detox before they've done a gut healing protocol, like an extensive gut healing protocol. And that means testing to make sure that, leaky gut isn't an issue, because if there's leaky gut, leaky brain, you start mobilizing toxins, you got a shit show on your hands. So, once the gut is healed, once the gut has been addressed, adrenals have been addressed, then I will go into a detox protocol. The best detox protocol, like the first step of a detox protocol, is avoidance, right? And clearing out toxin exposure. Personally, if all of those things are good and true and you've gone through that process, I do like the detox cube actually from Quicksilver Scientific. So, yep. Dr. Katie says, for creating posts on Instagram, do you have a preferred app? I've looked into iPreview and Canva. I love Canva. Canva is something I use all the time. I have a business account with Canva. Canva is probably my favorite. And Paulina says, any other advice on getting that first client? Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. My advice would be to put yourself out there, to just put yourself out there. Start talking about your program, your services, your philosophies, your methodologies. Start informing people, because the biggest thing that I see is people not getting clients is because your clients don't know you have anything to sell. They don't know that you actually have a service to offer, right? So start talking about it. Talk about it until you're so sick and tired of talking about it. Because like me and Daphne were talking about, only 1% to 3% of people are seeing your content, right? So repeat yourself all the time. I would say at least 3 times a week. Talk about your program. Get online. Talk about what you do or what you believe in or how you help people. Just let them know that you actually have a service. And be consistent. Jimmy says, I'm a new practitioner and all the information that you shared is helping me to feel more confident. Yes, that is my goal. Dang, thank you so much. That is my ultimate goal of hosting the summit, is to give you guys the confidence that you need to make this happen. It's been going online has been, I will never go back, never go back. And people always say I can't believe you dropped your license. And it's I am so freaking glad I dropped my license. No, thank you. I don't have to keep up with CMEs and board regulations and blah, blah, blah. No, I actually get to live my life on my own terms, and I get to help a crap ton of people. So you can do it too. Yeah. Tara, this has been incredible. Thanks for the gift of your time and wisdom. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Tom says, thank you so much. You are so welcome. Thanks so much for all your time and sharing your knowledge. This has been great, and I can't wait for more. Thank you so much, Paulina. Thank you. I'm really proud of you to go outside of the box and inspire all of us. Thank you. Thank you, Lena. This is my purpose and passion. I kind of joke around with people, and I'm always you know what? I think I was a practitioner for 10 years, a decade. I literally think I went through all of that experience just so I could teach practitioners now, just so I could help you guys. Because this is really, truly my purpose and passion, is helping empowered practitioners create empowered clients and patients. That's the ripple effect. Because I can only see so many one-on-one clients. And yes, I loved it when I was doing it. And now it's what really lights me up is working with practitioners. So it's good. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Jessica. Samuel. Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so looking forward to the workshop. Awesome. I'm stoked you're going to be there. It's good. It's a juicy, juicy, juicy workshop. If you think we covered a lot of information here, the workshop's really, really good. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you all so much. All right, that's a wrap for today. If you want the exact breakdown of how I help practitioners go from their first 5K to consistent 50K months with just 2 offers, 10 hours per week, and an audience of less than 500 people, be sure to click the link in the podcast description or head to wealthywoman.co/breakdown. To make sure you don't miss an episode, be sure to subscribe. And for daily online practice insights, follow me on Instagram at wealthywoman.co. Let's create your life of wealth, full of abundance, purpose, health, wealth, and joy.